And we are live.
Okay, it's August 9th and the Forestation meeting is called to order at 2:12, and we'll start with our normal procedure of looking at the minutes from the July meeting, and I could tell you right now that there's an error. I picked up the old header and it says it's June 14th. It should read July 12th, but other than that, hopefully you can review those, or if you didn't get them, they went out Sunday night, and if there's any questions, corrections, additions, speak now.
I think there's a change, should be a change in the money allocate or the number of trees that were allocated for tree maintenance. That was the mulching bid from.
Right.
Okay,
It
so
says trees, and that's
there were, I actually have to look it up. I apologize. I think it was 27 trees that we did. Maybe, let me look it up while I can verify that for you, Linda, but I think
okay.
it's
So I
27.
guess the point would be that there'll be that correct, those two corrections. Does anybody have anything else that they see?
I don't want to make a motion to approve with no changes.
Okay, second to approve with changes.
Second.
Okay. Oh, Sylvia, you're back. Great. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. And we just learned from Herb that the mayor has a conflict and is downtown for a meeting, and there will be no update from him. So I guess, Andrea, you want to proceed with your?
Okay. Well, I think you all know that Perez and Cortez did finish the edging and mulching of the new trees that were planted both this spring, or that were planted last fall, in order to better maintain them. I also sent to the board, I'm hoping you've had a chance to look at it, most of you, the list of 3-gallon trees that are available for the fall for ArborFest. So it would be great if the board could come up with several choices that you want to order. The trees are $20 each, which I think is the same price as last year. Has anybody had a chance to look over that list, or not yet, or?
I have looked at it. I just have a couple of suggestions and questions. And some of it relates to a suggestion that was made at the last meeting because of these younger trees being more vulnerable to deer, that maybe we could provide a guard with the tree. So the potential cost for those, I believe, was $8 a piece. So if we have 20 trees, $20 trees and $8 into a guard, maybe we buy 45 trees and 45 guards, and we're still within our budget number. How does anybody feel about that?
We also have to plan on freight, which I don't know what that is until you tell me how many
Well,
trees you
if we have 8 and 20, that's only $13.50, and
Right.
budget was $16.50. So there's some room there for anything other expenses.
Andrea, I never got a list of the trees.
Well, I'll resend it to you, Connie.
Thank you.
Some of the
So,
ones we've had before that were popular that we may want to continue to repeat are the Coosa dogwood. You have the Sweet Bay magnolia. We have the Jane magnolia that I think are always very popular. Some of the other items that were on the list that are the bloomers that people seem to like. We have options for the Katsura, the Carolina silverbell, the Stewardia, the tree lilac, and there were a couple of maples I think we've used in the past, the Trident or the Red Sunset.
and there's also 2 evergreen magnolias that are hardy here, generally speaking, which I haven't seen on that list: Bracken's Brown Beauty and Little Gem. Bracken's Brown, they're both southern magnolias. The Bracken's Brown Beauty gets larger. The Little Gem will probably it's considered a smaller southern magnolia, maybe only getting 15 feet tall or so,
That
15 to
would be
20.
a really nice new addition. I would put that one on the list. I like that.
Well, people like small flowering trees. We know that. So,
And
And
the,
I think the ones that Linda mentioned are pretty much what's on that list. Let me see if I can send it to you, Linda. I mean, Connie, real quick. I don't know if you can look. You probably can't look at it right now anyway.
yeah, I can.
hey, I was thinking, if we had 5 different things available and we started with the dogwood, and a couple of magnolias, and then we look at some of these others, the silver bell and the stewardia. And then if we have,
Well, they have the Kusa dogwoods on here
the Coosa
primarily
dogwood, right?
for dogwoods.
Linda, what kind of tree guards are you thinking about for these trees? The
It's
$8 tree guards.
Probably, oh, go ahead.
What are they?
it's I think what the city's been using and that we had pricing on that was $8 a piece.
They're 4-foot mesh, plastic mesh tree guards that we're using on all the other
Oh,
trees that you've
okay.
probably
You
seen
know,
around.
one thing that I noticed today when I was hiking along the Orange Trail in Harrods Creek Park, we have a lot of tree guards that, the trees don't need them anymore. In fact, at one point, someone suggested that I go and kind of clip the zip ties so they didn't restrict the trunk. But the guards are there and they could be pulled off and reused with new zip ties.
Let's do that. I would save some
Um,
money.
I
No?
would not recommend that. Uh, the trees, they aren't that big of trees yet. And
Yeah.
it also gonna take is for $1 to go around the tree and the tree's toast. Really, they need to stay on. We might have to go through and readjust some of them, but I would leave them. I would recommend leaving them on myself, especially with rut coming up,
Okay.
which for those who don't know what rut is, it's deer mating season's coming up, so. And they get stupid during rut, so.
I just sent you that list, Connie.
Yeah, I haven't got
Well,
it, but I will. Don't worry.
I go along with Ron, as long as, maybe we need to loosen them up, but, they do havoc. I mean, they've done havoc on my trees.
They've actually wiped out 5 or 6 back there, so.
Yeah, they have. Well, what do you all think about the suggestion of 45 trees at least that we could?
Yeah, I think 40, why don't we get 9 each? I mean, 9 each of 5 different trees.
That's kind of where I was coming from, because we had the number that Lee had given out originally was to go for 50, and this kind of balances out and gives a little extra feature to protect the trees.
Okay. So do we want to make a decision now, or do you all want to review the list and do it? Can we do
No,
it
I
by
think
email?
I think we make a decision now. We don't have the mayor's talk, so we got more time.
So Linda, I think you suggested, I don't know if you mentioned redbud or not, but Chinese dogwood. There's 2 different kinds of southern magnolias. There's the Jane magnolia, and I think you mentioned sweet bay magnolia, and also Carolina silverbell, I believe.
Yes, those were all possibilities.
And I don't know
I
if
have
you
planted
want-
2 Jane magnolias, and they've done right well.
I don't know if you want all flowering or you want 1 or 2 of something else, or do you want all flowering?
Okay,
Uh,
Chinese dogwood, Jane magnolia. I kind of like the idea of trying that bracken magnolia.
Yep, Bracken's
The
Brown
evergreen.
Beauty. Mhm.
That gives us 3. We said silver bell. That gives us 4. Why don't we do one that's not flowering? I don't know
Okay.
if one of the maples or Andrea, what would you suggest?
Um, I think you said they had trident maple on there.
They
that was
did.
good. I'm trying to go back and look up the list here real
It was
quick.
trident.
They have, yeah, I think a trident maple would be kind of interesting. That's a little bit different. It's a little bit smaller maple. It may
Mhm.
fit in some people's yards a little bit better. I know there's varying sizes of yards, but I think we've probably offered red maples before
I think we have.
and so I would say probably the trident is a good one.
Okay, so we have a Coosa dogwood, a Jane magnolia, a bracken magnolia, the silver bell, and a trident maple. I think that's a nice mix.
Okay, so silver bell, Chinese. Tell me that list one more time so I get it.
The Coosa dogwood,
Right,
Jane magnolia,
right,
bracken magnolia,
right,
silver bell,
right.
and trident maple.
Okay, got it.
The tree guards for 45 of them will be $350. Shipping
Okay.
included.
Okay.
I got lost in Oldham County and I rode by Abrams Nursery. It really isn't that far away from us.
Well, that's their sales yard. That's where landscapers go to pick up nursery stock, but they have acres and acres and acres of tree farms in Milton, Kentucky.
Oh,
So that's where all their farms are, where they, or their, nurseries the tree nurseries, I should say. But yeah, it's not, their location in Crestwood's not too far from you all.
Okay, well, we got that one checked off. What else would you like to update us on, Andrea?
Well, I think you're going to cover it in a later
Yeah,
discussion
when we
about,
go to problem trees, definitely you have some comments.
or else, and also, if you're going to possibly order trees or suggest trees that could be ordered as canopy trees for the canopy program, if you're going to offer that this fall.
We
have-
hope to do so, and I guess the question there would be, would it be the same list that we had in the spring, or what's available there? Timing of when we'd have to get the orders from the community.
Yeah, the list might change slightly. I have a list I can send you all, or I can read it, depending on what you want to
Why
do.
don't you send it to us so we can kind of look it over a little better and try and come back to you very quickly via email?
Okay, and then I would say it'd be great if we could get orders in by mid-September, 15th, maybe the 20th of September. I wouldn't go too much later than that.
Okay.
so we can make a decision at the next meeting.
Well, no, I think we need it
That's
before
September,
we can get the list out to the community that we're going to need an e-blast or something before then.
right?
Okay.
That's when we want to have orders back.
Yeah, so we probably want to get something out about the 1st of September, so that gives people a couple of weeks to make up their minds and get their money in.
You're right.
Okay.
All right, I'll send that list, and then you all can review it and let me know what you think, or what you
Will do.
want to put in your e-blast or whatever.
Sounds good.
And I'll get the prices. I'll send the prices too.
Okay.
So I think that's all I had for the moment.
Okay, so we can move on to the problem trees. I think most of you have seen pictures from Andrea and comments from either Andrea or Lee on the various items that are on this list. We'll start with the 8300 Westover ash tree. It's quite dead, and the recommendation was that it is a hazard and should be removed.
Removed or made safe if possible. But it's very, very dead, so I'm thinking it probably needs to be removed. It might be difficult
Okay.
to do otherwise. It's been
So-
dead for a couple years, I think.
Okay.
It's way in the back. I've seen it. It's pretty good sized
Mhm.
tree, but if it's dead, I don't. I mean, is any merit to just cutting part of it out, or does it just make sense to recommend?
Well, I think it could be up to the homeowner. Did you say, could it make sense to cut it back? Is that what you said? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I mean, I
It could
think
be
the
either
term
one.
makes sense. I mean, if it be made sense being dead, that's
Right.
okay. I make a motion that it's made safe.
Okay, all in favor?
Mhm.
Okay, so that will, we'll submit paperwork to Ron and then he can work with Rick on the appropriate activities. Next one on the list, 7105 Fox Harbor. This was the whole row of hemlocks with problems. From what we understand, some of the work was done, but not everything that was cited. In the notification. So I did talk with Lee about this problem, and he said at this point he would suggest that we go back to the owner and I guess compliment them for the action that's been done, but be insistent that they complete the work and see what happens. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or
Yes,
We'll
I
have,
think that's good.
I'll let Rick know that we need to send another letter to that owner to complete the hemlock removal. Next on the list is the choke cherry that's on Hunting Creek Drive by Wythe Hill. That's at the dark foliage tree that's been failing, and Andrea had not had a chance to look at it at our last meeting, has since done so and just identified assorted problems, and the recommendation there is removal.
Right.
I have it scheduled to be removed, so.
Good.
Okay, so
good.
that's a done deal. Okay, the next one is in Little Hunting Creek Park. There are a couple of big trees, an oak and a black cherry that are near the power lines that could potentially affect where the new park and some of the sidewalk and some of the things in that area will be. And I think multiple people have looked at it, and I don't know. I think whether it can be made safe or they both need to be removed. I know there's issues with power lines that need to be addressed with notifications. Andrea, you're probably can kind of fill in the rest of the story on those two trees.
Right. I think they should be removed. One of them has a lot of the oak has a lot of dead wood. The black cherry's been pruned up one side. They both had some root damage from the construction. And I think the course of action should be that if you decide to remove them, that we would have, I would contact the LG&E forester, and they would look at it, and LG&E would look at it and determine they will probably have to make them safe for the city's contractor to remove. I would also say that there's two redbud trees that we need to watch that have been impacted by the construction there, close to, that were in the line of original line of forest pansy redbuds there, that the two closest to the construction that have had quite a bit of root damage. So we're gonna have to watch those, to see how they do.
Well, I would hate to take out those trees if there's any way just to make them safe. You know,
Well, they're
'cause
just gonna be stubs of trees, Connie, is that?
Connie,
you mean the whole top?
They would just prune them down to 30 or 20 or 30 feet. That's what
Oh.
safe
there's
means.
another really large oak right next. I think it's an oak right adjacent to it. It's pretty good shape. It looks like. I mean, you don't see any deterioration, so there is still a large tree right in that area. But that oak it's the part that's dead or deteriorated is dangerous.
Oh,
It would be hard to prune it and make it, it's kind of like spending good money after bad.
oh, okay. Well, I didn't know it was that bad.
Right.
So it sounds like the recommendation is for removal. Can I have a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to remove those two trees.
Okay, and
Oak and the
the
black
next
cherry.
steps would be to notify LG&E.
Yes.
I can do that if you
Okay.
want me to.
Okay, and then we'll go from there in terms of what they want to do and what needs to be done. And while we're talking about Little Hunting Creek Park, things progress, I know we've talked about there'll be opportunities for fresh plantings that could complement the area. And certainly we talked about that, yes, Forestation and Parks and the city all would need to work together on this because it's really a very nice opportunity. And one of the suggestions that came out was it's also new. We may not want to do anything until kind of the dust settles on the project and we see how people are really using the park and where it would be good to have trees and where trees would not be appropriate because they would interfere with activities.
When we were first, one thing I would like to say is that when we were first talking about the playground project, there was some concern about making it less likely that a kid would run into US 42.
Mhm.
And one of the recommendations was to put a row of shrubbery or something on the inside of the four-board fence along US 42. And that would help, I think, a little bit with noise mitigation and so forth. And I just don't want us to lose sight of that recommendation because there were concerns about the safety of children in the park. So
I think that's a very
that
good point.
Linda, we always have a few leftover trees after Oktoberfest, and we should keep those in mind to plant in the small park. You know, whatever we have left over.
There needs to be a maintenance plan associated with any new trees. You need to keep that in mind too. Maybe
Right.
associated costs going forward, since that always is a difficult issue, watering.
That would be trees, shrubs, anything that goes.
Right. If you put a row of shrubs along where you're talking about, that would be included in that. Should be anyway.
Okay, good.
Well, let me just, how do we go? Yeah, and Linda Wardell, I know that's always been part of the plan, and I think it's a good part of the plan. But how we go on, I can tell you right now, there's not money in the park improvement as far as the part I've been somewhat involved in, the pavilion, playground. So to be able to take it to the next step, is that money, what budget does it need to come from, and how does it implement it?
well, we don't even have a budget yet for this next year. I think that has to be in the plan at some point. But it sounds like there hasn't been any money allocated for any plantings. So I do think there needs to be some coordination between forestation and the parks. And we need to maybe have representatives from both groups making recommendations and then figuring out what should be budgeted. And I don't care if it's in the parks budget or if in the forestation budget, as long as it's sufficient money to, as Andrea says, not only cover the planting but also the maintenance costs. So
Yeah,
Linda, yeah, you probably know this, but the last fiscal year's budget is the budget for this year. It's
Correct.
started over.
right, and that will be in effect unless I guess a budget is passed. And there is, I mean, there is money for parks improvements and there is money for or park enhancements and also money for park maintenance, but the amount requested in that budget did not include any plantings for Hunting Creek Park. So we do have projects underway and planned because some of the things we had in last fiscal year's budget weren't able to get finished in last fiscal year. So we already sort of have plans for those dollars.
well, there is tree planting money that is in the forestation budget going forward. And I guess the one consideration there is that we agreed that going forward that whatever tree amount we came up with, we would include a maintenance component that maybe we plant fewer trees, but we have the money to maintain the ones that we do plant. So that will be something we can kind of work together on.
I think if I mean, the forestation, and I agree. I think maybe we meet together down there, and it'd be great to think in terms of the shrubbery being planted, and if there's going to be some trees this fall, because it's the pavilion and the playground is all going to be ready this fall, so it'll be open for people to use. So, and we are in mid-August or near mid-August, so. So, and if I thought here on the Forestation that as far as any new planning, whatever it is we do concentrate on Little Honey Creek Park. That
And at
would
this
be
point-
that would be the focus.
And we really haven't identified any particular public planting for this fall or this spring. So certainly that could be, exactly what you're talking about, Herb. If we focus on the new park and making it pretty.
One other thing, I've learned that the Fox Harbor neighborhood uses that park every year for their annual picnic. And the minutes of the last meeting talked about a memorial tree for Paul Davis, who was president of that homeowner for many years. So I don't know if we need to reach out to them or the parks reach out to them, see if that's where they want a memorial tree planted.
I don't know, and I guess Lee has been in contact with the HOA, so he may know more about it. Let us know when he gets back what their thoughts are.
But, and of course, I know a lot about that development there, and I do know there's an area for for picnics and things, and for the parents to watch the kiddos. And that's an area that has no trees, so maybe a meeting with some from both committees down there, and we get our heads together and we get a plan.
Okay, I think that makes sense. So we need to look at some times that would work for everybody.
Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else on Little Hunting Creek Park? Okay, the last one on the list is just a question we'd had from another meeting, that the corner of Fox Harbor and Hunting Harbor, that it is kind of overgrown and there may be some work needed there, but there's a question in terms of there may be some city land there versus private land, and I don't think that's been resolved, but I don't think it's a matter of great urgency. So it's just for the record. I don't have anything else to add on that. I don't know if anybody else has something to put forward on that topic.
Actually, I think the tree in question is back behind that house, and we're gonna have to have the area surveyed.
Okay,
There are some encroachment issues
right. That's
going on back there, so.
I'm sure some of that comes down to where we were time-wise and budgets, and so that's something that will continue to be looked at. So good enough. We've talked about Arborfest. I think we are ready to move forward with our trees, and we can work on any other details at our next meeting and start getting information for newsletters and e-blast ready. So that would be good. I really don't have anything else to bring up at this point.
Can I ask a question about Arborfest? Some years we've had Parks presence there, and other years we haven't. And I don't know if the Forestation Board would like some participation from the Parks Committee, and if so, what sorts of things?
I think it would be terrific if somebody could come for a little while. It's like 10 to noon. And I think with what we did at the 4th of July was very beneficial for both groups, and to have the literature on the parks and the trails there with all those trees, I think there would be people that really would appreciate that.
And think in terms of new neighbors, new residents, and I've heard, many at Harris Creek Park is not too many, but there's some they didn't realize, all what you can do in that, all what a neat park it is.
Yeah, and the trail maps, just to see how much is available, I think would be beneficial, and whether you've got people that could come for a little while or just to have the literature there so that we could pass that out in addition to the information on the trees that we would be providing.
Okay, sounds good.
Great, good idea. So anything else, anybody?
I don't have anything.
Okay, well, very good. I appreciate everybody, and it's always nice to see council members
Can
here.
we say if where Ron's located, drive safe riding home, Ron?
Boy, that would
You need
definitely
to
make
ride.
meetings more interesting.
Okay, our next meeting will be September 13th, and how about a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. I'm making motion.
Second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? We're adjourned. So thank everybody, and
Thank you.
and we'll be
Thank you.
for
Yeah.
email.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
All right, bye bye. Thank
Thanks, Ron.
Hey, guys.
you all.
Bye.
Bye bye.